5.2.11 The Word. 2 Timothy 4 verse 2. Preach the Word. Be ready in season and out of season. Convince, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. A more common alternative to the terms the gospel or the faith in the New Testament is arguably the title, the Word. Apostle Paul in this renowned passage instructs Timothy to be ready to preach the Word. To preach is to publicly, loudly proclaim in the same manner as premier heralds would announce the ascension of kings. Timothy was challenged to do this both in season and out of season. Oswald Chambers argued that many of us suffer from the unbalanced tendency to be ready only out of season. The season does not refer to time, it refers to us. In other words, we should be ready, whether we feel like it or not. If we do only what we feel inclined to do, some of us will never do anything. The Bible obviously has a lot to say about the Word of God. To mention but a few passages, the author of Hebrews described the Word of God as quick and powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of the soul and spirit, of the joints, the marrows, and is a discerner of the thoughts and the intents of the heart. Hebrews 4 verse 12. Isaiah the prophet also declares, the grass withered, the flower faded, but the word of our God shall stand forever. Isaiah 40 verse 8. Jesus affirmed Isaiah's prophecy that heaven and earth shall pass away, but his words shall never pass away. As seen in Matthew 24 verse 35. John's gospel account opens with the bold statement, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John 1 and verse 14. However, what did Paul really refer to when he exhorted Timothy to preach the Word in this passage? A further reading of 2 Timothy 4 in the third verse clearly reveals the real reason why Paul challenged Timothy to preach as follows. For time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but according to their own desires, because they have itchy ears. They will heap up for themselves teachers. They will turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to fables. Notice those recurring themes here again: sound doctrine, the truth, teachers, etc. Without question, the primary reason Timothy needed to preach was because of the imminent apostasy of believers from yearning sound teaching, instead gravitating to false teachers who will tell them only what they wanted to hear. Therefore, in this context, it is clear that what Paul meant by the title, the Word, was simply the sound doctrine handed down by the apostles. In other words, Paul was saying to Timothy, Tim, you have to always be ready to preach the right doctrine or the right instructions, even when it is inconvenient. Sometimes it may cost you some friends, but you go on ahead, boy, and preach it regardless. This verse also indicates that Timothy was to do this with patience and great devotion to doctrine. In conclusion, people will turn away from the truth. They will grow weary of the pain of the gospel. They will also be greedy of fables and take pleasure in them. People do so when they will not enjoy that preaching which is searching, plain, and to purpose. Those who love souls must ever be watchful, must venture and bear all the painful effects of the faithfulness and take all opportunities of making known the gospel. Matthew Henry, concise.